Yo, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to a DFS strategy video for the 2026 Genesis Invitational. I am doing this a bit impromptu. I normally go live on Tuesday nights, but because I'm out of town this week, I will not be able to do a Tuesday live stream. So I'm getting this out when I can, and it is Monday late at night. I am live. I don't anticipate anybody coming into the stream this late at night, especially without knowing that I was actually going to go live. So here we are. I'm going to go through everything I typically do. I'm going to go over the golf course, the tournament information. We'll go over pass optimal and GPP winning lineups. I'll do a little review of the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. And then I'm going to get into the bucket system, which is kind of the nucleus, the thing that makes SweetSpotDFS special. Let's put it that way. The things that I care about the most, the stats that matter the most for this event. That is what I will cover towards the end. And then maybe I'll just build some sample lineups like I typically do. The one thing that I won't be covering in this video that I normally do are the marquee tee times, because tee times aren't out. And also when it comes to building lineups with the optimizer, I typically use marquee tee times as a conditional in order to build these lineups. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, I will definitely provide as much information throughout this video as I can. There are timestamps down below. You can go check those out. AJ Love's here, of course. Yeah, no. I was just saying, I wasn't planning on doing a Monday stream, but I just thought to myself, I got to get one out. I can't do it tomorrow night. So AJ, I'm not going to go live tomorrow night. I won't be live Wednesday night. There won't be any members only videos Wednesday night. Mostly, it's all because I'm out of town. I forgot to provide that update last week. So here we are. Here we are doing all this stuff. Now, before I get into this video, I just want to remind everyone that I do giveaways, and I'm going to run a weekly giveaway. Now, you got to contact me if you win. Let me know where I can send the $5. Now, if you want to participate, what I need you guys to do is first be subscribed to the channel. Comment. Normally I do roll calls. AJ, I'm not going to do roll calls this week or for this video, but instead comment down in the comment section. If you comment down there, you get an entry into next week's giveaway. Those entries also go into the monthly giveaway, which I will be running at the first Tuesday of the next month. I always go live Tuesday nights, except for this week, of course. But that is where I will run that giveaway. So if you want an entry into that, it only takes one entry to win. I don't know how many times I've seen it. So comment down below, read the description of this video, by the way. You could find a way to get a second entry just by following directions. There's a little nugget there that can get you an additional entry. So there's that. And then one other thing to remind you, once this channel gets to 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to give away $1,000 worth of giveaways. 2 of those are in cash form. The other 2 are within membership subscriptions to SweetSpotDFS.com, which I will be using throughout this video to show you the stats, everything that I care about, all of that, everything that you will see in this video will be derived from SweetSpotDFS.com. So if you want an entry into that giveaway, 1, be subscribed. The sooner we get to 1,000 subscribers, the sooner I run this giveaway. And then 2, go sign up at SweetSpotDFS.com. It's free. All you got to do is create a username, put in an email address, and then create a password or put in a password. That's it. I use the distribution list from the emails that I get from those signups to add to the entry list. So that's all you got to do. Go sign up. Simple, easy, and free. Okay, let's go ahead and run this week's giveaway. Again, you have to reach out to me if you win this giveaway. And by the way, last week it was awesome. I was almost live for, I was live for a long time. We had 5 total roll calls. Actually, I think there was 4, but I gave double because I just went on a tangent and I was like, you know what? I feel bad for you guys for being here for as long as you like listening to all that. So I'll give you double entries. But then YouTube comments. Look at this. Nathan, Denny, and Joanne followed the description of the video as to how to get an additional entry. So they got a few more. Again, it's easy. Once again, this is live now. Once this gets posted to replay, go comment down in that comment section. I'm looking at you, AJ. I haven't seen you comment on any of the videos, and it's super easy, super simple. Same with you, Lombardi Lee. Go comment after this goes live. Super simple. Super simple. You guys are just robbing yourselves from $5. An additional entry into the monthly giveaway. Okay, here we go. Drum roll. Oh no. AJ, you win. Congrats, dude. And that was so much louder than I thought it was. I forgot to put the volume down on my speakers. And so I'm sure you guys heard it through the microphone. So AJ, although I just criticized you for not putting entries for YouTube comments, there you go. You had 5 entries because you were here the entire live stream and you had all those roll calls. So congrats, dude. $5 is yours. Again, you're going to have to remind me at some point in time. I'm not going to do it after the stream, most likely. So I will try. I'll try. Well, let's put it this way. I'll try to remember. If not, then I'll let you know. Or you reach out to me. Okay. Congrats, AJ. All of these entries go into the monthly giveaway. There we go. 2 tournaments so far. This will be the 3rd tournament of the month, the Genesis. And yeah, you can get some additional entries. My SweetSpot logo is in 1st place in college basketball right now. Hell yeah, brother. Awesome. Okay. Let's go ahead and get into this thing. Actually, hold on. I see someone in the chat that looks like it says the Byronster. Is that Byron on an alternate account? Because I was there for 5 hours. Yeah, I think it was a 4-hour stream. It was long. All right, we're gonna get into the course and tournament information. I'm gonna try to cruise through this. Should have been mine. All right, let's go. By the way, this is live. Just a reminder. What I try to do is go through each segment and then I come back and read the chat afterwards. So, you know, I will try to come back and read it for you guys. Anyways, yes, here we go. All right. This is SweetSpotDFS.com. This is a tool or a page called Tournament Stats that you guys can all go to. This is behind a paywall, so you do have to be a member in order to see this. I like to start here just to give you the stats of the tournament. Of course, it requires me to type in the tournament in order to do so. And here we go. Oh no, I forgot to update the golf course. Don't mind that. That's a good reminder for everyone that last year this tournament was played at Torrey Pines. If you do read the table down here, this week it's Riviera. Actually, I see what's going on. I think this is a it's when I'm telling the database what to do. If you ask it to look at the first in, it goes by alphabetical order. I must have it looking at the last in. So my apologies. That will be updated when I'll fix it. All of the stats you see on here right now are averages. So it's your average winning score, your it's your average winning score, but it is the lowest score that this tournament has seen, and then the highest score, which is obviously closer to 0 or over par, because we're talking about numbers. The more you go in negative, the lower it is. The higher you go up, we get into positive numbers. So there's never been a year where this tournament has won at 20 or under. Obviously that makes sense because the lowest winning score is 19 under. Average cut score. There is a cut this week, by the way. It's a 36 hole cut. It's top 50 in ties plus everybody within 10 strokes of the leader. This is very reminiscent of old Masters rules, and that's kind of where they got it from. And by what I mean by that is if you don't know golf, the Masters is a tournament. It's not like a, you know, Masters of people. But yes, the Masters tournament, it follows those cut rules. Now, the lowest cut score was even par. The highest cut score is 4 over. So we could see something kind of over par for a cut score this week, which is wonderful. It does say regular event type. That's not true. That's another data issue that I need to look into. But if I go ahead and click into here, there we go. 2026. Strength of field is 755. Your field size is 72 people. So again, top 50 and ties make the cut. Riviera Country Club is your golf course. It is a signature event. So all your one and done people out there, this is a perfect time to target a golfer, like an elite golfer. And again, or I shouldn't say again, but if you didn't know, I do have a one and done tool. So I'll let that load. It's not going to be up right now, but that's your tournament stats. I have got nothing else to provide. Actually, let me back up a little bit. I go over tournament and golf course information to give you data points in how to research or to research. I don't know why I put the word in there, but I give you data points to research, and primarily to research on my website, SweetSpotDFS.com. So if you were to go to any of the, let's see, where do I want to go? I guess I'll have to look. If you want to go to any of these, I'm going to go to stroke chain stats. And as that's loading, let's go to the one and done tool. That one's done loading. You can come here, select the tournament that you want to look at, or you don't even have to do that. There's a ton of buttons on here that you can go ahead and push. For this week, you can look at the golfers that are in the field this week. I kind of like to look at lead-in form. I like to also look at kind of course history. So you could put the Genesis Invitational in there if you wanted to. And then all of these buttons here will show you all of their finishes. So you can see the amount of starts that each of these golfers have had at the Genesis. 7 seems high. That can't be right. That seems nuts. That can't be true. There is no way that can be true. Let me see what tool. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go into Scotty. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. Oh my God, he's played this 7 times? Okay. Why would I question the data that I have? I feel like he hasn't been on tour for that long. That's insane. 7? Okay. Anyways, you can see wins, who has the most wins at this event. It's just one, and these are golfers in the field, by the way. Homa, Scott, Oberg, Matsuyama. If you went all time, then you'd be able to see all of the winners that have been. Bubba Watson with 3, like Dustin Johnson's here. A lot of guys that are on live. But for this week, if you go ahead and hit the this week button, you can go into any of these. You can look at average finishes. Akshay Patia with a 9th place finish. Most of these guys have only played once, and it was probably last year at Torrey. So you got to look into that as well. Top 10s, top 10%. Who has the highest top 10 percentage here? Of course, it's Akshay with 1 event. Maverick McNeely, 66%. That just means 2 out of 3 years, obviously. Ludwig had 2 starts here, and one of them was a top 10. So there we go. But then you can see the rest of the guys. Total money won, or earned, I should say. You can look at all the golfers in this week if you want to go by that, or even average money per event. You can look at all this stuff. Ludwig with the most. That's because he won last year. So the one and done tool is there for you. But what I was talking about with data points, all these filters in here. So I was telling you, this is a signature event. So actually, let's clear this out. Come back here. This is a signature event. So you would type in you would click the signature button. That'd be a data point that you could use. I think I went over the strength of field. If not, we can go back to the tournament. It's 755. for your strength of field this week. So I could go back into this stat, and for the strength of field old, I should just put SSDFS here and then just have strength of field OWGR right there, because that's what those mean, old and new. Old is just, I'm taking the old OWGR strength of field. So I would put in 700 to 800, most likely. Yeah, something like that. And that'd be one data point. You could go by one data point, and then we can look to see who's the best top to bottom just by filter or sorting out by the strokes gained total up here. Scotty Scheffler, Patrick Cantlay, Rory McIlroy, Tommy Fleetwood, Ryo Hisatsune, and then you can see how many rounds have been qualified for those stats. So you can do with that however you want. Most of these guys, we kind of already know that that's how they perform. So again, data points. There's all these filters on all of the tools that have just all these different types of, I mean, they're all filters. I'm sorry. All of these are filters. Use the data points to filter out the information you want to see, or to, that's a wrong wording. It's a Monday. It's terrible. I feel like it's been word vomit this whole time. But yes, use the data points on the website to filter out the stats you care about, or filter in the stats you care about, to find the golfers that are best at those stats. I think that's probably the best way to say it. But anyways, moving on to the golf course. I spent way too long trying to correct the jibber jabber that I was going on about. Anyways, Genesis Invitational, the golf course, Riviera Country Club. You can see all of the stats up here, yardage, par, all that good stuff. If you care about the types of shots that matter at this golf course, you can see I kind of have like a little scorecard down here. It goes through hole by hole and what shot shape matters more than any. If you listened to Byron and I last night, Sunday nights, we're making that a thing. So every Sunday night, if you want to watch kind of a recap of the tournament that just ended and a little look forward or a little preview for the next event, join us Sunday nights. I had mentioned at this golf course that you need to be a shot shaper. You need to shape shots off of the tee. And when I look at this, it's kind of telling me it's not as important, but this golf course is a bit tree lined, and sure, shot shapes aren't absolutely necessary, especially even off the tee. You can always club down to hit the dog legs that happen at this golf course. Like, there's slight dog legs. There's, you know, position places that if you did shape a shot, it's going to make it easier to find those position places in the fairway in order to hit the green and get closer to the hole. You don't have to. You can always club down and hit an approach shot that's further back. So yeah, I guess I'm not seeing a lot of shots off the tee that are absolutely necessary, but I do know from past performances at this golf course, golfers that do shape it both directions tend to do a little bit better. Well, we see a lot of our winners that do that. Bubba Watson, Adam Scott. Funny enough, Tiger's never won at Riviera, so that's an interesting component. So far, Rory McIlroy hasn't, and neither has Scotty Scheffler, but that could obviously change this year. If I was to choose a golfer based off of just looking at the golf course, like I did a flyover just looking at how the course is routed and, you know, all the dog legs, all that kind of stuff, and that's how I figured out, or that's why I have the specific shot shapes here. I believe, so I have turf grass in here, and then overseed says no, but I think there might be an overseed on the tees, which is not important. Oh, yeah. That's why I put a no. I put a no because, like, who cares about the tee box being overseeded? Most of it is Kikuya with the POA greens. So just keep that in mind. Again, that's a data point that you can use for filtering. So if I went to strokes gained stats and I went under the grass stats filter right here, and I went to Kikuya or even POA greens, Kikuyu fairway. It's dependent on whatever you want to look at. It's not that big of a deal to me for the Kikuyu stuff. The POA is going to matter a little bit more. So all you would have to do is put that in here, and now all you're going to see for golf courses are POA golf courses, or golf courses that have POA on the greens. One of the conversations that I had with Byron Lindeque is we were talking about Scotty Scheffler and how he's never won on POA before. And I said, yeah, he has. He's won at the Procore. And he goes, no, that's not pure POA. I agree with him that it's not pure POA, but the reason we look at POA is because the type of, like, that type of grass flowers. It buds throughout the day. Also, well, there's that. That happens on all POA golf courses, or all POA greens. That flowering can happen even if it's a mixture of bent or whatever else grass you'd have in there. Most of the time it's just bent, but you can have ryegrass. I haven't really seen anything else, maybe fescue. But what POA does is it flowers on the green, and it creates kind of a bumpy surface. So as the ball travels over it, it can get bumped off course. Golfers that tend to be good on POA for putting tend to be firm putters. They hit it over, like through and over those little bumpy spots. I mean, think of like Tiger Woods when he tied Rocco Mediate and what was it, the 2007 US Open, 2008 US Open? I can't remember the one that was at Torrey. Tiger just hit a firm putt, and you saw it bouncing, but if he had hit it with less speed, it would have been plinko all the way to the hole, and it may not even have gotten into the hole. It might have missed way right or way left, but he basically hit it straight through. And that's, I mean, Phil Mickelson's another golfer that's good on POA. Obviously, those guys aren't on tour anymore, but they are golfers that are good on POA, and they just hit it through the break. So if you can find golfers that are good on POA for putting, I mean, I do have that filter in here right now for POA on greens, and then we just kind of sort by putting top to bottom. We can see some of the best golfers that putt well on POA. Bridgman has 86 rounds recorded, but that's not nearly as much as like Jason Day, and we all know Jason Day plays well on POA. Maverick McNeely right there also plays well on POA. Harris English, another good golfer that does well on POA. Sam Burns, Denny McCarthy. Again, these include all greens that have POA on them. If you're going to be someone like Byron and you're just like, no, I don't agree that every golf course that says it has POA on it is an actual POA golf course, what you would want to do is go into the tournaments and only select the golf courses or the tournaments that you think pure POA would be on. So you're seeing all the tournaments in here. I think what most people are going to say is you'd go with Torrey, so Farmers Insurance Open, and you'd go AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am, and this golf course. I think these are really the only true POA, like pure POA golf courses. There are US Opens and stuff like that you can also find, but if you just blindly put US Opens in here, you'll get all of the US Opens. You would have to then filter down by year, but if you filter down by year with the other tournaments in there, it's not going to work well for you. So you'd want to do this and then maybe just look at those as a one-off. So just put in all the golf courses you think are pure POA and then go with that. And then you can see who the best golfers on these pure POA golf courses are. Now, I will say this, putting stats, around the green stats, they're more fragile than any of the other stroke gain stats. So a very good performance is going to really just accentuate how good a golfer may seem on whatever filters that you put in. So just remember, putting and around the green, you can kind of take with a grain of sand. Like, just, it's not as, I'll say this. You can most certainly use these filters, but what I would ask you to do is dig into it a little bit further. if a golfer or several golfers had one or two performances that were just amazing, that really accentuated their stats, you might want to water those down a little bit in your mind, because you're not going to be able to do it on the website, but in your mind. So Jacob Bridgman, I think probably last week is going to be a big week for him that pops up for putting. Actually, it was last week, and it was also Farmers in 2024. So you can take with that whatever you want, because it kind of shows that he actually is pretty decent. If one of these were like 6 strokes, 4 strokes putting, like that would be kind of, I mean, I guess 3.5 is pretty darn close to 4. So Bridgman's good. So if we looked at Matt McCarty's just a good putter in general. So I wouldn't be too concerned with his high putting stats, like his good putting stats, but this is a good thing to see. We can get more into these golfers a little bit later, but I just wanted to show you how you can use the filters based off of the golf course and the tournament information. So that's my big thing, is just giving you guys data points to use. I don't like to kind of do like a really in-depth breakdown with no payoff at the end. I want to give you the payoff. The payoff is go to the tools, use the filters that are on them, and then go from there. So that's what I would do. And we kind of went over the golfers that present good stats with that. So rewind if you need to. But I'm going to move on. I'll check the chat really quick. And Byron, is this you? I was watching Byron and Kenny when I got this alert for the show, so I will continue that show later. My life is fantasy golf shows. Were they live? Do they go live? I wasn't sure. I guess I never notice if they do or if they don't. I think that's just a regular video, right? All right. We are going to move into the next segment, which is pass optimal and GPP winning lineups. Okay. So we start here at SweetSpotDFS.com. Historic salary builds. You can also look at pass optimal and GPP winning lineups. I have both of those tools up. Now, the one thing to note is that we have Scotty Scheffler at $14,300. And I forgot to mention at the beginning of this video, if you want to take a look, I have a cheat sheet. I have 2 cheat sheets that you can use. They're both free. So you could use this cheat sheet at SweetSpotDFS.com, or if you scroll down on the page, you can go down here, click here, and you will find the cheat sheet in Google Sheet fashion. So this is how I used to do things. I have now migrated just to doing website stuff. You can see there's no tee time information here. That will get updated hopefully tomorrow, Tuesday night. So take a look there. But you can use everything. I mean, I've spent a lot of time updating this cheat sheet to be exactly how I want it to be, how I like it would work out for me. So yeah, I would recommend using this. Again, this is free. You guys can just come here, use this. I've got a couple filters over here that you can use, like just simple filters, but nonetheless, they're filters that you can use. But yeah, $14,300 Scotty Scheffler. So right away, and we're going to see this, I think, the rest of the year. This is a perfect price tag for him. It gets, believe it or not, it gets a bit more cloudy as to when the appropriate time to play Scotty is, because when he gets to 14,500 or 14,600, which we haven't seen yet, but I imagine they're going to flirt with that at some point in time, it makes lineup building very difficult. Now, if you were watching last night's stream with Byron and myself, I told you the sweet spot optimal for last week was Scotty Scheffler. Scotty Scheffler was in it. And let me show you. So if we just take a look at 2026, actually, I'm going to use this. This is called Pass Optimal and GPP Winning Lineups. This is another tool that I have. And if I just go ATT, Pebble Beach Pro-Am, and just look at 2026, if I put in the optimal lineup, you can see that it used $48,200 of the salary. It scored 756.5 points. We can compare that to the GPP winning lineup that used $49,900 of the salary. and it scored 736 points. Also, by the way, I have total ownership up here, so you can see it right here. The GPP winner had a cumulative ownership of 53.5%. So too did the optimal. Now, the SweetSpot Optimal is a lineup that uses $49,600 of the salary and above. It's the best lineup following those constrictions or those constraints. So GPP winning lineup scored 736. Just remember that. Your optimal left $1,800 on the table. That's difficult to get to. The SweetSpot Optimal, again, uses $49,600 of the salary and up. It scored 751.5. That was only 5 points behind the optimal lineup, and it was 15 points ahead of the GPP winning lineup. And as you can see, it used a $14,000 Scotty Scheffler. So it was 14,000 Scheffler, 78 Colin Morikawa, who won the tournament. Two guys in second place, including Sepp Straka, who was the point scorer of the week. He scored more points than anyone else and finished second place. Minwoo Lee, Ryo Satsune, and Tom, the Pebble Prince Hoagie, as Byron Lindeque would call him, the Pebble Prince. So that was your SweetSpot Optimal. It used Scotty at $14,000 at a signature event. If I take off the SweetSpot Optimal and we just take a look at the salaries from top to bottom, you had $11,500 Rory, $10,200 Fleetwood. Fleetwood finished fourth. That wasn't good enough. Wasn't good enough to, well, it was good enough to win you a GPP, I think. Yeah, he was in the GPP winning lineup. And by the way, I have all of these like stats over here. You can see if they were in the DK top 10, DK top 20, the optimal lineup, the GPP winner, or the SweetSpot Optimal. So you can see all of the ones here indicate that they were in the GPP winning lineup. And I would have seen that if I would have hovered over Fleetwood. He was also in the optimal lineup. You had Burns at $8,000, who was also in the GPP winning lineup as well as the optimal lineup, but he was not in the SweetSpot Optimal. You can build so many different types of lineups and still take down a GPP. So despite Scheffler not being in the optimal lineup or the GPP winning lineup, it doesn't really matter. You could still take down a GPP because most of the time GPP winners don't have the perfect lineup. They don't even have, sometimes they don't even have 20, like one of the top 20 lineups that you could build throughout the week. So there's always room for improvement when it comes to these GPP winners. Luckily for them, they had the best lineup of the week. So I like to go over all of these things because I want, one, just to give you information and data that you can use to build lineups the way you want to build them. But also, two, to be comfortable playing a $14,000 golfer who just happens to be the best golfer in the world, who will be on the Mount Rushmore by the time he's done playing. So I'm gonna make this comparison only when it comes to salaries and roster construction. Don't get carried away with the comparison. But if Tiger Woods was playing, if we had DraftKings at the time Tiger Woods was just crazy good, I imagine we would see him close to $15,000. Pretty darn close. I don't know if you can get there because DraftKings wants you to play golfers in order to diversify. You know, if you had Scotty at $15,000, you most likely can't build a competitive lineup, so no one would play Scotty, which just removes a golfer from the field. Even if you were to win a tournament, you probably still can't win a GPP. Someone might perform better than you. So I think there is a perfect science, a sweet spot of what his price tag should be. And I've said this with Byron in each of our Sunday night shows. 14,400 or 14,004 to 14,006 is probably the correct price tag for him. I think if you go any higher than 14,600, you just can't build good lineups. And of course, you can do all the research here at SweetSpotDFS.com, looking at historic salary builds or even past optimal and GPP winning lineups. So with all of that being said, I'm going to go ahead and remove 2026 from the filter here. And when we take a look, I have 1,103 lineups currently recorded, and it's I keep track of 3 different lineups: the GPP winning lineup, the optimal lineup, and the SweetSpot Optimal. Those are the 3 lineups that I capture throughout all of the years of data that I have. If I have those pieces, sometimes I don't have GPP winners, and that most of the time the GPP winners that I don't have are from 2017, and 2018, some of 2018. So I mean, that's not that big of a deal in my opinion, because some of that data is just negligible. Like it is not that big of a deal. But optimal lineups go all the way back to 2017. That's pretty easy to keep track of as long as you've got price tags and DK points. You can do that. And same goes with SweetSpot Optimal. The best lineup using $49,600 of salary and up. So basically every year I have DK salary data, I have either an optimal lineup and or a SweetSpot Optimal. So just throwing that out there. Want to be transparent with you guys of what I've captured. But speaking about the whole Scotty Scheffler stuff, oh, I got to fix the DK Eagles. Oh my gosh. I did this last week and I totally spaced it out. Eagles. I don't have a piece of paper in front of me to write it down. Okay, I'll try my best to remember. Eagles. Anyways, what I would do is come down here, historic lineup filters. And basically, if you want to look at any of the successful Scotty Scheffler lineups that are high priced, I would go into here. I'd put in 13.6 to 14.6. Actually, 14, yeah, we'll put in 14.6. I think 14.4 is the highest price he's ever been. But you'd put that in here. I would then select all and then remove the Tour Championship. If you remember, the Tour Championship had that weird staggered start, like starting scores. And a lot of the golfers that were at the top of the leaderboard before the tournament started, that, you know, they started at 10 under. DraftKings gave them like a $15,000 price tag. Some of them gave them a $14,000. And I mean, it went down from there, from the tiers. So you want to get rid of that. That data is not that important, because then you also have a 5K range that's included in all that stuff too. So basically what you want to look at is, what is the salary structure? And you can see the salary builds right here for each of those lineups, or you can look at the summarized version up here. I have 10 total lineups that were successful when Scotty Scheffler's between that $13,600 to $14,000 price tag. And it's not even so much just Scotty, but I'm pretty sure we know all of Scotty is in these lineups. It's a 10-8, 2 7s, and 2 6s. I think that's what we had. Yeah, we had that at the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. So if we go back here, Pebble Beach Pro-Am, and we look at the SweetSpot Optimal, it was $14,000 Scotty Scheffler. And by the way, I know this may sound weird, but I consider that a 10K golfer. All that really means is there are 5 digits to his price tag. I don't know how else to word that when it comes to what tier of pricing he's in. Yeah, he's not in a 10K range, but anyone that's 10K and above, that's what I put in the 10K range. So there it is. It's Scotty at 14,000, and then you had 2 pretty high priced 7K golfers, $7,800 Morikawa, $7,700 Sepp Straka, and then Minwoo Lee at 7,200. So kind of a lower 72, and then 2 6K golfers. I want to double check. I thought I may have said that wrong. Oh, 10-8, 2 7s, 2 6. That's what I thought, but I'm sorry. The Pebble Beach Pro-Am was a 10, 3 7s, and 2 6s. The American Express, where Scotty was a 10-8, 2 7s. Okay. I'll get back there. My apologies. We are looking at this lineup right here. But that's a way you can do it. Just throwing that out there. I knew I had this loaded up already, but a 10, 3 7s, and 2 6s. And really, you don't have to dig too low with these 6K golfers. But I will say this. I went over this with Byron, and I guess I will review the Pebble Beach Pro. I mean, I will review the Pebble Beach Pro coming up here, but following all the buckets and the marquee tee times, these salaries in green that are on the screen, that is the SweetSpot bucket optimal lineup. This follows all the SweetSpot rules, whereas the other SweetSpot optimal is just the best lineup that uses $49,600 of the salary and up. This follows all the rules to the SweetSpot process. By the way, this scored 751 points. The SweetSpot Optimal scored 751.5. So half a point decides this. And it was between Echeverria and Tom Hoge. I'm only throwing this out here because now this is a fourth lineup that I can talk about that had, this is a second lineup I can talk about that had Scotty Scheffler in it, but it's a fourth lineup for the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am that we could talk about that would have won you a GPP, including the GPP win lineup. So you could have replaced Tom Hoge with Echeverria and only lost half a point, and then that's where you would actually be digging into the low 6K range. I just wanted to mention that because I did say, 68, 65, you don't have to dig down, but you could have replaced Hoge with Echeverria, who was $6,200, and that is where you'd be digging a little bit. But it's just to go to show, or it goes to show that Scheffler lineups are live. You can pick, and when we get into the bucket system, when we look at some of the 6K golfers that show up inside the top 10 every single year, we might come across the same thing. We might be looking at, hey, 6K golfers actually make sense to play at this event. So throwing that out there. Looking at the rest of these 14,000, again, this is a Scotty Scheffler. It's a Scotty Scheffler conversation. I was trying to think of a word. It's a Scotty Scheffler led conversation. Do we want to play Scotty Scheffler this week or not? Last week, same question was posed. Half of you guys said yes. Half of you guys said no. But if you were to build a Scotty Scheffler lineup, again, a 10, 8, 2 7s, 2 6s. If you drill into this, by the way, most of this stuff you can click into and things will happen. So I'm adding a filter by just looking at this lineup, and you can see where those lineups appeared. Now, the American Express, all three of the lineups had a 10, 8, 2 7s, 2 6s, but you also had the same thing at the Open Championship. Now, that unfortunately had a 5K range, and a 5K golfer was a part of it. This also includes, what do I call it? Price conversions. It also includes a converted price, or a price conversion. I'm not going to explain that. I bumped some of the high price guys down, some of the low price guys up, because I was trying to make traditional salaries for these guys, like a conversion. It's its own thing. But anyways, what we could look at is, we can look at the American Express and the Open Championship. The Open Championship from last year, the American Express from this year. So I can just put in American Express, pull that up, and we can first look at the SweetSpot Optimal, which had Scotty Scheffler, Jason Day. That's a 10. Oh yeah, 10, 8, 2 7s, 2 6s. Okay. So that was a $14,200 Scotty Scheffler. Again, he's $14,300 this year, or this week. So 14.2. We could go with an 8K golfer with Jason Day, $8,100. Then it's 76, 72. Kind of an even gap between these three golfers. Drop $700 to Hoge. Once again, Hoge being in all these lineups is very interesting. Do we go back to Hoge? And then Andrew Putnam, which I wish Andrew Putnam was playing these tournaments, because I would want to play Andrew Putnam, but he just didn't make it. He didn't qualify. At 6,300. If I go to 2025. Oh, you know what? Let me go back to 2026 and show you the other lineups, how they change slightly. So this one had still the same Scheffler, Day, and Gerard. But I think, no. Gerard, it's these 5 are the same, but then you add Smotherman to the mix. And then your GPP winning lineup includes the 4 typical golfers you see here, but then we have Eric Cole and Keith Mitchell that were added. 7,576. If I sorted this differently, it's 75, 72, 66, 63. So it's the same. You need a J Day in there, Jason Day. If I go to the Open Championship, 2025 Open Championship, and we take a look, I think it was a SweetSpot Optimal, right? Oh, it was just the Optimal. Okay. So that's the thing. You got to look at what lineup it happened for. Here it is. Again, there was a price conversion, so there was a 5K range. It's difficult to tell you guys like what this really looks like, but basically Matt Fitzpatrick was treated like an $8,100 golfer. Chris Goddard would have been treated by like a $7,200 golfer. Wyndham Clark would have been treated as a $7,000 golfer. And then these guys were treated as 6Ks. He would have been a high 6K, so let's say 67, and then Hao Tong would have been like 61, 62. So basically what we could look at, we would shrink Scotty down a little bit and say he was $14,000 or even $13,900 or $13,800. So we would say he was around that price. Fitzpatrick was $8,000, $8,100. Goddard 72, Wyndham Clark 7, Harris English 67, and Hao Tong 62. That's how I would look at that. It's basically the same lineup we just kind of looked at with the American Express. So there's a chance you could do an 8K. And here we go. Let's do a payoff. I'm talking about all this stuff. Let's do a payoff. I do have the optimizer up. It does not have the marquee tee times in here. And it doesn't even have AM PM waves. So therefore I've removed any minimums when it comes to the marquee tee times in this optimizer. So basically, if I were to go ahead and lock in Scheffler and then say, tell the optimizer, I want at least one 8K golfer. So that's what this is right here. This little conditional. So I'm making it choose one 8K golfer and I hit run optimizer. We're going to get the most optimal lineup using Scotty Scheffler and an 8K golfer. And it's Scheffler, Jake Knapp at $8,600, then dropping to $7,400 Taylor, Gerard at 72, Novak at 63, and then Bud Cauley 62. I actually do like Novak and Cauley. So this lineup here to me is fire. Like this is a great lineup. But let's say $8,600 maybe too expensive for our blood. So let's kick out Knapp and let's see what the next 10K 8K combination is. Ben Griffin at 87 and then a 7,700. So, oh my God, we get Jason Day in there again. Do we just copy what we got from the American Express? He's Satsune, Novak, and Cauley. Okay. How about this? Let's make it choose two 7K golfers. So there are things you can do with the optimizer. And if you want access to this optimizer, all you got to do is go under Fantasy Tools, drill into Optimizer. That's going to open up a new page on the website. I should say it's going to open up a page. You're just going to go to a new page called the Optimizer, put your email in here, and then request now. Now, I will say this. I don't like to send the Optimizer out before I get tee times from the PGA Tour. So if you're paying attention, you will see that tee times usually come out afternoonish on Tuesdays. So if you request this before, let's say 4 p.m. on Tuesday, 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, and you don't receive an optimizer right away, it might be because I don't have the tee times yet, or it might be because I haven't made the updates yet. One of the two, but I will send you an optimizer when I can, once I have everything updated. If for whatever reason you want an optimizer without the marquee tee times, email me right there, SweetSpotDFS@gmail.com, and say, please send the optimizer without the tee times. And then I will. I got no issue doing that. But it doesn't follow the SweetSpot process. And that's the whole thing about this, is I want to follow the SweetSpot process. Again, Fantasy Tools, Optimizer, and that's how you request the optimizer. So now that I have two 8K golf or two 7K golfers in there, now we're going to get a 10 and 8, two 7s, and two 6s. Here we go. This is a very balanced build. This is exactly what we saw at the American Express. Almost exactly the same. You know, it was like a $6,500 golfer with like a 67, but that's okay. We don't need to follow it absolutely the same. So this is a possibility. I don't really care for Brian Harman, but we're no longer dropping into the $6,300, $6,200 price tag, but we are here with Echeverria. Now we go Scheffler, McIntyre, which I don't hate McIntyre here. You can make the lefty comparison because Bubba Watson's won here 3 times or whatever. I don't think I would, but you could. You could. And Echeverria played pretty well at the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Just throwing that out there. Well, look at this. We get our Pebble Prince in here. McIntyre, Jason Day, and Gerard. That's super interesting. I'm going to go ahead and say no to McIntyre just to give you like one more lineup consideration. Mav McNeely into Akshay into Norin, Hisatsune, and Novak. I love that lineup. That lineup to me is straight gasoline. Like, this is so good. I'm so good that I'm going to copy and save this off to the side. And I'm going to try to build this lineup once I get the tee times, and we'll see how it works out. Novak will get the boot, and now we'll see what the next guy is, Lucas Glover. I don't have an issue playing Lucas Glover here. He actually has had some pretty decent results, but I get Shane Lowry in here with Ryan Fox. Now, Ryan Gerard, I might be a bit, I don't know. I was spurned by him last week. He shot, I think, an even par round 4, 70 or even par 72 in round 4 at the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. And it hurt a lot of my lineups because I got no scoring from him. He had 1 birdie and 1 bogey. So I don't even get a bogey free bonus. He's not giving me any birdies. He's just doing pars. That actually is pretty good at this golf course. Shooting, you don't want too many pars. You need to get some birdies. So maybe the harder the golf course, the better. And oh, by the way, if you want to use filters to do that, you'd go into the podium here, which is just the tournament stats. Come down to winning score, and we'll go somewhere between -12 to -16. I'm sorry. I need to do it the opposite way. -16 to -12. That's where I think the winning score is going to be. Whatever you think the winning score is, just go ahead and put those filters in, and then we can kind of we can sort from top to bottom and see if our boy, Tony Finau, by the way, whoo, I'm loving Tony Finau this week. I don't think the optimizer is going to love him that much, so we're going to have to bump him up. But there's Bud Colley, our $6,200 golfer. Marco Penge even. Wow. Okay. Good to know. Good to know. Let's see. I'm just going to go by salary from top to bottom. We are trying to find Ryan Gerard, $7,200. Ryan Gerard. Oh, he's a negative performer when the conditions get tough. You can drill into his name and look to see what tournaments those were. 2026 Sony Open. So this year finished 2nd. Then it's a bunch of garbage. And then it's the Honda Classic in 2023. That's on Bermuda. So, yeah, I think we can pump our brakes on Ryan Gerard. So I'm going to kick him out. We're going to kick him out. I'm also going to do one thing that we don't have to do this, but I kind of want to just to see what results we get. Tony Finau is probably one of my locks this week. He played really well last week. He's figured something out with the putter. I think he's going to get a lot of confidence with that, and this is a good golf course for him. But if I were to build a Hoagie line or a Finau lineup, I get Colley in there with Corey Connors and Pearson Coody. I actually, this combo here, Fitzpatrick, Coody, and Connors, no issues with. And I don't mind going back to Connors, I think, but let's kick him out for now. See what else we get. Yeah, this Wyndham Clark, that's an interesting decision too. I don't know if I can do Wyndham Clark. I'm going to build one more and then move on. I don't know what's up with Kevin Yu. So this is actually a terrible choice. Kevin Yu finished, he finished a tournament. He withdrew earlier in the year, a couple tournaments actually. So I don't know what's going on with him, but this is a lineup I want to see. Something like this. I get Hoagie in there, which I'm absolutely okay playing. I get Scotty Scheffler, Mav McNeely. Harry Hall, don't have an issue with. I didn't play him last week because I just don't like playing Harry Hall, but this could be the week to play Harry Hall. But let's one last one. I feel like I'm the little kid that can't put down the controller, and I just want one more game. And what a perfect, yeah. I get Rosie at 8,000, Nick Taylor, Pearson Coody, Finau, and Bud Colley. It's a sexy lineup to me. This is where if I don't even think I have my soundboard up. Oh, I do. This is where I'd play one of these. It's a sexy lineup. You had to play sexy music for a sexy lineup. So there we go. That is one of my favorite lineups. And that's a way to build some Scotty lineups. Now, If you are the type that do not want to play a Scotty lineup, which absolutely go for it. I have no issue with it whatsoever. I personally, $14,300 is not expensive enough for me to be like, I don't want to play Scotty Scheffler. That's too expensive for me. But if your research gets you on golfers that you are dead set on, go for it. Play the golfers that you want to play. You can go ahead and put in any kind of filtration, however you want. If we want to go ahead and put grass filters on here, you can do that. We can look at POA greens and look at all the events that had POA greens with the types of lineups that have these POA greens. I shouldn't say these POA greens, but just POA greens. The most common lineup build is a 10-9-8-7-7-6. You've heard that from me multiple times in the past. That is the jingle, the SweetSpot DFS jingle when it comes to lineup construction. 10-9-8-7-7-6. The next common lineup is a 10-2-8s-2-7s and a 6. Then a 10-3-7s and a 6. 10-9-8-7-6-6. They all follow that same basic theme. 10-9-8, 10-8-8, all that kind of stuff. I see all you guys coming in the chat. I know you're all surprised. I'll talk to you guys here in a little bit. But another filter that I would actually put on this is, instead of going with POA or any of the grass stats, I really think looking at either strength of field is going to be really important. So I'm going to go put that 700 to 800. Actually, let's just do 850. I want like the top end. So put something in like this, and actually, hold on, let me go backwards. I'm going to remove this, and I'm just going to put in signature and playoff. Don't want to put anything else. I could do major, but I want a limited field. I'm looking at limited fields, and these are actually what I want. I could change the field size up here as well, and maybe I'll do that here shortly. But if I do this, your most common lineup build is a 10-2-8s-2-7s and a 6, followed by a 10-9-3-7s and a 6, 10-9-8-8-6-6, 10-9-8-7-6-6. Again, you can look at all this stuff at SweetSpotDFS.com, but a 10-2-8s-2-7s and a 6. Now I've seen that twice as we've looked. So I'm going to clear all this out, and let's go ahead and tell the optimizer to look at a 10-2-8s. Sorry. And probably have a 7 in there. Yeah. Okay. So when we run the optimizer, what is our most optimal lineup? It is a Fleetwood, Griffin, Knapp, Fitzpatrick. So 3. Do I really want 3 AKs? I don't think so. So I'm gonna change that up. Again, you can, if you request the optimizer, you can change all this stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this. Run the optimizer again. Now I get a 10-9-2-8s, a 7 and a 6. So Fleetwood into Matsuyama, Knapp, McIntyre, Gerard, and Colley. I actually really like that lineup quite a bit. Again, we can go back to here and just look. Does a 10-9-8-8-7-6 work out? It's like, well, I don't really see that. You can also put that in here. If you want to build out your lineup or like salaries, you can certainly do that right here. So if I go 10-9-8, I don't really see it. Oh, yeah, there it is. 10-9-8-8-7-6. So that lineup we just built, you could have seen that at the 2024 BMW Championship, the 2019 Tour Championship, and the 2019. Remember, we got playoffs in here, the playoff events. You could open this up, by the way, and let's just, I guess, let's do that and put in 80. I want somewhere between 50 to 80 golfers for the field size. So I could do something like this. I can clear all of these out. And we can also look at what the most common lineup build. 10-9-8-7-7-6, of course. But 10-8-8-2-7s and a 6. So that's kind of what we were going with. 10-2-8s, 2-7s, and a 6. So I'm going to actually put in 2 7s. There we go. I'm getting really narrow. You see this? I'm going with a 10, 2 8s, 2 7s, and then leave it open. But it's most likely going to pick a 6K. Oh, no, it didn't. 3 7s. And that's probably because of how soft pricing is. Again, Ben Griffin and Jake Knapp. If you're not a huge fan of either of those guys, we can just kick them out. So I'm going to kick out, I think Ben Griffin actually, this is a good golf course for him, but I'm going to kick out Knapp, see what we can get. Yeah, I don't know if we can get an expensive enough lineup. Like, if it's just going to go with Fleetwood the whole time, it must just, okay, let's go with McIlroy. So is McIlroy the only way we can get a 10, 2 8s, 2 7s, and a 6? If so, this is a pretty good lineup right here. McIlroy, Griffin, McIntyre, Day, Cootie, and Hisatsune. So we really can't do that with with Fleetwood. However, if we were to look at some of these lineups, I mean, we could do a 10, 9, 8, 2 7s, and a 6. Again, the filter I put on here was field size. So I'm shrinking the field to better suit this right here, the tournament that we're playing. So I can go down here and actually get rid of and just have one 8K golfer, but make sure it has 2 7s. And so now we're definitely picking a 10. Oh my God. It went with 2 10K golfers with Aldrich Potgieter. 2 10s, an 8, 2 7s, and then a 6. That is a hell of a lineup. Here's a more conventional lineup. This is great. Fleetwood, Goddard, Griffin. Yeah. That, and then Jason Day and Keegan Bradley. That's a really good lineup. A really good lineup. If you're following that 10, 2 8s, 2 7s, and a 6. Here's a 10, 9, 8, and 3 7s. It's another one of those common lineup builds. Fleetwood, Matsuyama, Griffin, Cootie, Gerard, Connors. And then one last one. We get a 6K. We get a 10, 9, 8, 7, 7, 6. We get McIlroy, Matsuyama, Griffin, Gerard, Norris. This is fine. Those are all good lineups. So basically, I'm kind of giving you the tools or the ideas of what kind of lineup build do you want. I'm giving you the percentages here, the popularity of these lineup builds. You do with it as you want. And again, you can use these tools at SweetSpotDFS.com. This one's called the Historic Salary Builds. I did go over the past optimal lineup and GPP winners. Kind of really just covered Scotty Scheffler lineups. But you can use all of these tools to research what kind of lineup builds that you want. So go check it out. Okay. I think that's all that I have with past optimal and GPP winning lineups. I am pretty far into this. I didn't really care to go this long, but I still have a few more segments to go over, and I see a bunch of people in the chat. Of course, you guys didn't know I was going live. Just to let you guys know, I'm live now. I normally go live Tuesday nights at 8 p.m., but I'm live now because I'm going to be out of town. So there is no live stream tomorrow, guys. So everybody who's really interested, that normally knows that there are live streams Tuesday nights and Wednesday nights. Not happening this week. This is your live stream, so there's no members only live stream. I'm sorry about that, guys. This is it. This is it. I won't be building lineups for. Yeah, I'm not going to be building lineups for people. At the end of this video, since it's so late already. But if you guys want the optimizer, I can send it to you guys. And again, I usually send them out to the optimizer Tuesday in the afternoon. I still will be sending out the optimizer. I just won't be in a location that's going to allow me to stream. I won't be able to do a live video. So it's nice to see all you guys in here. I saw AJ already, Lombardi Lee. I don't even know if I said hi to you guys, but I know I acknowledged you in the Byronster, which I think is Byron's alternate account. Chronic Nebula, what's going on, man? Another great tournament. Hell yeah. Good evening, Joanne. Nice to see you. Oberg and 8K, Sepp and 7K, Finau and 6K. When will that ever happen again? I don't think it will. And those are 3 good golfers to build your lineups around. Wheels Up says, hello, gents. What's going on, Logan? Nice to see you. Walker Bueller's Day Off. I like that name. That's a great name. Hisatsune at 6,800 is free guy, has 3 straight top 10 finishes. Here's a question for you, Walker. When does fatigue set in? Because golf isn't a normal trajectory sport. And I wouldn't even say normal trajectory sport, but trajectories like that they don't continue on for very long. Still smart. Wait, is it Tuesday? Nope. No, it is not. Yeah, what? Gotta be Donkey Chalk. Hisatsune? Probably, yeah. It's Tuesday in 15 minutes for you, AJ, but not for me. I put all my golfers through my patent filtration process. Did you? Was that for last week or this week? Logan goes, I'll be playing Colin and Tony and Tom Kim. You have luck with Tom Kim, sir. 8K range is juicy. Is it? Is the 8K range juicy? Let's see. You know what's kind of fun? The little metric cards up here. If I were to go ahead and put in, actually, let's go into the little bucket here and go down to salary 3. Salary 3, that means 8K golfers. We have 8 golfers in here. Well, first of all, we have 10 total golfers, and 8 of them are in the top 50 of the OWGR. So you are correct, sir. This is juicy. 148 of the strength of field points go towards this this price range, where it's 755. So that's pretty good. I mean, most of the strength of field points go towards the high price guys, but this is really good. 8 golfers in the top 50 of the OWGR is really good. Burns got her up. Yeah, Griffin and Knapp. The optimizer loves both Griffin and Knapp. That again is following the buckets. It is not following the marquee tee times. I don't hate Fowler. I like Fitzpatrick. I'm not gonna play Oberg, honestly. You know what though? I did look at Oberg's. What did I look at? I did kind of do a deep dive of Oberg, and I did see that he did make a lot of birdies. So actually, you know what? I guess I don't hate Oberg this week. McIntyre, McNeely, and Rose, I think, are decent plays too. I'm not a huge fan of Rose, but obviously he does have a win this week or this year at the Farmers, which is, you know, a course that you could look at for this week. It's not exactly the same. It's not even remotely the same, but it is on POA. They're on difficult tracks. So there's a bit of a comparison there, a similarity there. So yeah, maybe for the 8K range. I normally I dislike the 8K range. I think that's usually where like dead zones happen, where it's like, we don't know what to do with these golfers. They're not performing as well as they typically do. They should be in the 9K range, or it's like 7K golfers from the week before that are just really popular. That 8K range didn't look like either. It actually looked like a true 8K range. So yeah, you're probably right there. Walker Bueller's Day Off says, last week I had Batia, Straka, Lowry, Henley, Cootie, Siwoo, got 1,900 out of 1,900 place out of 47,000. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's really good, actually. Just play the best plays, bro. Easy. There you go. Yeah, just play the best plays. All the big DFS promoters were on Henley last week, and now they are on Fleetwood. I'm fading him this time, even though all signs point to him doing good. Yeah, I don't hate that. I actually like maybe going back to Henley. Byron and I discussed this last night. If you're not following Byron, go do so. We're doing Sunday streams where we recap the tournament that just happened, and then we kind of look forward. And we were talking about this we were talking about Henley. Henley seems like a good play for this week. Chronic Nebula, if it's going to play tough, seems like an obvious Scotty bounce back. Yeah, a bounce back from his 4th place finish. Yeah, I'd have no issue playing Scotty. Bueller from Fantasy Baseball today. Is that who that is? You gave us 4 hours Sunday. Honestly, enjoy your holiday. Yeah, I know. I did give you guys 4 hours. That was crazy. What's up, bro? Yes, it's me. Oh, that's cool. We got a fantasy baseball guy in here. That's awesome. Well, the low 8K range, at least. I think the 8K range, yeah, I would agree. Step at 78, which is awesome. Hey, dude, fancy seeing you here. I love the golf, and I'm running good last 2 weeks. Made money, so riding it out. There we go. Compared to how the fans are treated in NFL and NBA, golf and baseball clear, to be honest. Okay. All right, so we just went over the pass optimal and GPP winning lineups. I'm going to do a bit of a review of last week because we're going to get into the bucket system and I'm going to show you how well the buckets did last week. So I'm going to do this and then I'm going to, you're just going to see the same thing here. There you go. And then pop this up. Okay. So going to the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. This is what I used to do all the time. Hey, by the way, Walker Bueller's Day Off, you go ahead and chat away. I am one of the very few people that do golf content that don't get super distracted by chat. I will definitely acknowledge chat towards the end, and I'll try to go through every. I appreciate all you guys being here, and if you guys want to chat it up, chat it up. Try to be professional here. So what I was getting at is, I used to do this every single week, and I'm probably still going to do something like this every single week, just to show you how well the whole process did. Let me zoom in just a little bit more. So all the little black tick marks here are the optimal lineup, and we just went over the optimal lineup, so I'm not going to cover this too much, but it scored 756.5 points, 48,200 of the salary was used. The GPP 736, 49,900 of the salary was used. And then I've got two SweetSpot optimals. The salaries that are highlighted in green follow the bucket system completely. And when we go and look at the summary of the bucket system for last week, you're going to see that these are the golfers that are actually going towards that, those numbers, basically. This used up $49,700 of salary. It scored 751 points. So that is, again, 15 points above the GPP winning lineup, 5.5 points below the optimal lineup. Now, the red font salaries here are the SweetSpot optimal that goes into the database. So on the website, this is what you'll see on the website is that lineup. And it's just the best lineup that uses $49,600 of the salary and above. Now, when I go back to the summary and we take a look, I keep track of how successful the buckets are every single week, and I am zoomed in too far for you guys to see this. We'll go back here to 150. I run projections every single week, a minimum projection and a maximum projection, basically telling you you want to play at least this many golfers in one bucket and no more than this many golfers in this bucket. So basically the minimum for this last year, one bucket, golfers who top 20 the year before at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am, I had a projection of 2 to 4. 5 of them finished inside the top 10. 3 of them were in the optimal lineup and 4 of them were in the SweetSpot optimal. So that bucket was a success because, one, if this number is outside the range of 2 to 4. Then we look at the optimal lineup. And if that number's inside that range, which is 2, 3, or 4, then it's successful. We can see some of these other buckets that were not successful. And if we look, remember, I have 6 stats that have 6 buckets in each of them. 6 times 6, 36. There's 36 buckets. You will see no's only twice. Or I'm sorry, 3 times. You'll see no's 3 times. So 33 out of 36 buckets were correct. And again, the SweetSpot optimal took down the GPP winning lineup. So all in all, the bucket system would have been 100% successful because we're trying to win a GPP, right? First of all, we're trying to hit the optimal lineup. If we don't hit it, maybe it's close enough to take down a GPP. So 33 out of 36 is good. SweetSpot optimal did beat the optimal. So these 3 buckets, not that big of a deal. And in fact, we actually use 0 golfers from this bucket because the projection was 0 to 2. Some of you guys are new to the channel. You don't understand. You'll see 1.83. We round up to 2. We always want to round down by the minimum projection. So you might think this is a 1 to 2 projection. There is a caveat. We always want a 2-point buffer between the minimum and the maximum. Always. That's what we've learned in this channel or on this channel. And we always push the minimum down 1. We never bump the maximum up 1. So 0 to 2 is what that bucket would have been. Now, obviously, we used 0 in the SweetSpot optimal. And that's just the thing. lineup building is tricky, especially when you're following rules. Now, to me, following rules isn't that difficult. It only becomes difficult. So last week, I was talking to Byron about this in our Sunday pod last night. So if I go ahead and look at this bucket right here, the last week's sixes, you can see that I'm actually selecting 0 of these golfers from the Sweet Spot Optimal. The reason that is, I made this update post projection. If we went into 2026, we take a look. I'm actually going to zoom in a little bit more. And we look at the top 10. Actually, no, I'm sorry. We're going to go and filter out. We just want to look at last week's sixes. Here are your last week's sixes. 2 of them were in the GPP winning lineup. 1 of them was in the optimal lineup. None of them were in the Sweet Spot Optimal. You would have seen the green price tags here, and we don't see any. 5 of these golfers finished inside the top 20. 2 of them finished inside the top 10. Now, if we go back to that bucket, the projection was 1 to 3. 1 to 3. If we go back, I told you, you can see right there, 2 of them finished inside the top 10. That number fits inside that projection, but here's the issue. The best lineup that used $49,600 of the salary and above used Scotty Scheffler. So if I take the filters off of this, and then we sort from salaries top to bottom, Scotty Scheffler at $14,000. Do you really think you can play a Tommy Fleetwood in that lineup? Obviously, the answer is no. You can't do that. Now, Scheffler was in the best lineup that used $49,600 of the salary and above. The next golfer that you wanted to put him with was Colin Morikawa and also Sepp Straka. This is the part of lineup building. Like if I'm looking at it beforehand, this is all in retrospect, obviously, but if I'm trying to get into my mind the week before, I never once considered this problem. And I do this. I was talking to Byron. I actually do this every single week after a tournament is done. And then I forget to do it like pre-tournament, pre-lineup lock. If I'm going with Scotty Scheffler, I need to look at each one of these buckets that Scotty Scheffler is not in. So Scotty Scheffler can only be in one one bucket per stat category. So he can be in 6 buckets. He was in the last year 1 bucket. He was also in the last week 1 bucket. And I think he was even in the course history 1. But I think he was all 1s, if I remember correctly. Yeah, he was all 1s. So when I look at those, I need to look at all the other buckets that were anchor buckets. Basically those that say you want to play at least 1 golfer in it, and take a look. So this last week 6 bucket, like I said, if I go back and we filter out by last week's 6s, you had Rory McIlroy in there at 11,500, and then Tommy Fleetwood. We also had Justin Rose, Russell Henley, which you guys were bringing up, Jason Day, Oberg, Patrick Cantlay. It's like, okay, a lot of those golfers are just good enough to win a tournament, right? They're some of the elite golfers on the PGA Tour. If I think, and this is the conversation when it comes to these projections, because the projections are just top 10 projections. How many golfers from each of these buckets do we think are going to finish inside the top 10? That's all it is. So that last week's 6 bucket that we're looking at right now, there was a total of 20 golfers in it. And of those 20 golfers, we want to find 1 to 3 that we think are going to finish inside the top 10. Well, if I gave you this list of golfers, how many of you would have chose Rory? How many of you would have chose Tommy, I should say? And then how many of you would have chose the rest of these guys? Well, if the rest of these guys was just Jason Day down, we could have built a Scotty lineup with 1 of these golfers, and maybe 2 if we chose one of these golfers down here in the 6K range. But obviously this is volatile. Like we wouldn't really want to focus on picking golfers from here. But again, if we think Rory or Tommy is going to finish inside the top 10, and that projection is 1, 1 to 3. What I was telling Byron is I got to remember to tell myself to bump the projections down by 1. Just 1 both on the minimum and the maximum. So this 1 to 3 turns into a 0 to 2. And then therefore, I don't have to worry about trying to pick a golfer from this bucket. But what I forgot to do was change this to a 0 to 2 bucket while I was building my Scotty lineups. Now, I profited last week. Just so you guys all know, I profited last week. Oh, that sounded really conceited. But why I'm mentioning this is I chose right. I went with Scotty. In 134 out of 150 lineups, I had Scotty Scheffler in all of them. I anchored them with the wrong golfers. And then I had the optimizer fill in the rest. Well, the optimizer filled in the rest with a lot of these golfers from here down. The only golfer, it was like Jason Day down. The only golfer I actually had a chance to do something with would have been Shane Lowry. That's it. That was it. The rest of these golfers did not finish well whatsoever. And therefore, I tanked my lineups on accident. Again, still did well because I had one of those winner-take-all. Actually, I placed in 2 winner-take-alls. One gave me 50, one gave me 25. All in all, I put in basically $69 in, and I got back 90. So that was nice. I was able to get my money. Well, I was able to profit, like I said. But it could have been so much more. I could have won so much more if I would have remembered to not, I need to, we got to change that up. I have to remember to, it's the Scotty rule. I don't remember who, it's AJ. AJ, you always say there's a Scotty button. We need to put a Scotty button in here, and the Scotty button will change how we look at things. $14,000 Scotty Scheffler, we have to obviously make some updates. So, all in all, the sweet spot process did well. If we look at the marquee tee times, remember the marquee tee times? I'm not going to be able to cover that this week, but they were in groups of 2. And what I tell you, find 2 to 4 golfers to anchor your lineups around and don't have them playing together whatsoever. So here we go. In the Sweet Spot Optimal, it is the green salary tags plus the red font. Those are both of the Sweet Spot Optimals, and they both include golfers from the marquee tee time. So I've got 2. We can see 2 GPP winners. They weren't playing together. Tommy was in a group with Robert McIntyre. Akshay was in a group with Victor Hovland. It was Akshay and Tommy. They were also in the optimal lineup. So there's 2 again. So there we go. Marquee tee times, 100% correct. And in fact, like look at all the other golfers. They didn't even play together. All these other guys down here that are highlighted, you can see they didn't play together. So the marquee tee times were spot on. Spot on. And that's kind of the review of the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. The bucket system was, the Sweet Spot Optimal took down the GPP. And of course, I didn't have the Sweet Spot Optimal, but I always record that lineup, see how well it does against the GPP. If it ever does, if it does beat the GPP, most of the time it does. I should say that. I shouldn't even say if it does. It does most of the time. It's like 96% of the time it beats the GPP. If the bucket system follows all the rules and you could build a lineup that takes down a GPP, typically I do well. Which, that's not even the right way to say that. Now I'm going to take that back. Because in a limited field, it's easy. In a full field event, it's difficult because there are so many more golfers that go into each of those buckets, and it's difficult to find the correct one. So I tend to do well at limited field events. That's what I meant to say. At limited field events. So I'm very excited about the Genesis coming up. It is where 2 years ago I won $1,800 just going with the Cantlay and Schauffele lineup. That's why they're the thumbnail of this video, is Cantlay and Schauffele provided me some good memories of this tournament. So looking forward to this week, and also just kind of following the bucket system. I have no idea really how I'm going to start my lineups this week. I do want to go with Scotty, but we shall see when the marquee tee times come out. So there you go. There is the review of the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro, and we're going to get into the bucket system here shortly, but I, again, see a ton of chats. Appreciate you all. Logan goes, you literally have to tell me, and I'm not trolling you. I want to know what the benefit is for you as a golf analyst lover to actually follow the leaderboard instead of watching on television. Oh, you're talking about last. Okay, so I just forgot, Logan. And I was saying this to Byron. I don't spend money on TV. Like I really don't care to have TV. And I don't spend it on any of the streaming apps. YouTube is my life, basically. I watch everything on YouTube. But my family does watch TV, and I have their accounts and passwords. So I forgot to watch it on CBS. I would have had it up for sure. If I would have remembered, why wouldn't I have? Like, I would have definitely. So no, I don't really particularly enjoy watching the leaderboard. So yeah, that was just something I forgot. He goes, so are you saying that you basically scroll down the statistics and analytics and watch a robotic leaderboard and never the broadcast? That's not what I said. No. That blew my mind. You saying you never get into the storylines. So you were telling me there's no chemistry, there's nothing narrative wise, and then that gets you going. It's all the data nerd stuff. No. I'll let you respond to that. I have no idea. No. Why not both? That's typically what I do. I do watch both the broadcasts and I look at the leaderboards. Walker Bueller's Day Off goes, the 6K range is loaded with guys who did well last week. Feels like it will entice people to pay up for Scotty. I agree. 14.4 is a lot. It can be. Well, yeah, it's all right. Rio, Echeverria, Bridgman, Hoagie, Finau, and Harmon all top 20 last week in the 6K range. Screams, set up. Walker Bueller's Day Off. That's where the bucket system, we're going to get into that. I'll show you. Obviously, yeah, it's going to definitely scream to play one of those guys. But as we all know, there's projections, there's limitations. We don't want to select a lot of those guys. We're going to want to be very selective with who we pick with those 6K golfers. That's what I thought too. Haha. If Scotty finishes top 5 and you don't pick the winner, you're cooked. Plus, it's a cut event and most 6 guys will get cut. That is correct. If you don't pick the winner, period, you're cooked. I like that is one of those conversation points that I've heard multiple times. And this is what I'm most excited about with this $14,000 price tag, because we used to say that about $13,000 price tags. You can't play a $13,000 price golfer. It's too expensive. He'll never pay off his salary. And then it's like, okay, what are they going to say about $14,000 golfers? You need to win the event if you're a $14,000 golfer. You have to. You have to do it. The one thing that people forget is people are stupid to some extent, and not everyone knows how to pick the right golfers. There's different ways to play this game. You can do game theory. You can just pick the best plays, as Chronic Nebula had said earlier. Which is a joke, I know, but there's different ways that you can actually play this DFS game, and that's the beauty of it, especially with golf. There are obviously good plays, and it no longer are. Okay, so people are stupid is what I had originally said, but people are smart enough now to not just pick random golfers. They're going to pick good golfers. They're just never going to be perfect. And there's always a huge, this is what I'm kind of getting to, why people are stupid. There's always a huge gap between the optimal lineup and the GPP winning lineup. And that big gap isn't to say, like the optimal lineup is achievable, because sometimes leaving a lot of money on the table is absolutely impossible to do. But there are, because I keep track of this, lineups that use $49,600 of the salary and above. There's a ton of them in between the GPP winning lineup and the optimal lineup. There's a ton of them. So there's still room to build better lineups. And obviously this last week, you could have built a Scotty Scheffler lineup that was only 5 points below the optimal lineup. And he finished 4th at the 18T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. yes, Colin Morikawa won at $7,800, and you needed to have Colin Morikawa. You also needed to have Sepp Straka. But the GPP winning lineup also had Sepp and also had Colin Morikawa, but did not have Scotty. And a Scotty Scheffler lineup was better. So if the GPP winning lineup did not have both Colin Morikawa and Sepp, they wouldn't have won the GPP. It just kind of goes along with all winning lineups. You need to have the winner. And if you don't have the winner, that means if you win a GPP and you don't have the winner, that means no one else had the winner either. Like very few people did. And by the way, I sometimes might get a little spirited when I talk. It's nothing. I'm not trying to throw shade or give you attitude whatsoever. That's just my feelings, my thoughts. Logan said, I profited without Scotty, so it could have worked either way. $5 into 30. There you go. Incoming Scotty button. I knew you wouldn't miss a beat. Walker Bueller's Day Off says, wheels up, 6 times your bet is awesome. I had 3 total bets for Pebble and I turned 625 into 1,100. There we go. So I didn't even double my money, but did fine. Yeah, you did fine. Both are good. I thought you favored not watching the golf. I don't know if I ever said I don't like to watch the golf. I don't think I ever said that. What are your thoughts on building up instead of building down? Very interesting. This week, so Walker Bueller's Day Off. I'm not sure if you've caught any of my streams in the past. I use this exclusively. This is my optimizer that I built on Excel. It uses the solver, which is the exact same solver that you use on the solver, basically. I think the solver online has a bit more functionality to it that you can do a little bit more, but it operates the exact same way as the solver on Excel. So I just put in all the bucket conditionals that I have. And if I do go with Scotty, it's automatically going to pick a 6K golfer. It almost has to. So basically what I end up doing is I look at my 6K golfers, the ones that I like, and then I set my exposures to them. I can't get super narrow because then I break the optimizer. The optimizer will break if I limit how many golfers I can select down here, unless I do the math properly. And then I know that I can build lineups with some of these 6K golfers, like at a 40%, 30% clip. Like I don't want to do that. One of my tagline lines on this podcast is never fall in love with the 6K golfer, but also never disrespect one. So building up for me would be difficult to ignore the 6K range. I'd always have to look at the 6K range first, and then that's where the issue comes into falling in love. I build 100+ lineups every single week. So to me, building up isn't really that important because I want my anchor plays to be up here. I do not want my anchor plays to be down here. And if I build up, my anchor plays will be here. But what I think I know what you're asking for. If you're building like a single entry lineup, or if you're playing like a limit, like a contest lineup or something like that, I think it does make sense to look at some of these guys down here and who are you comfortable playing? Some of my Scotty lineups, I'm probably going to end up doing something like this. I really like Tony Finau this week, so I'll be playing a lot of Tony Finau. I'm also kind of a sucker for Marco Penge. I kind of want to look. Should we do this? Let's do it right now. Did Marco Penge go to college? I don't even know. I'm going to look up Marco Penge. He did not attend college in the United States. Okay. The reason I asked that is because I made the comparison to Thomas Pieters. And I mean, they're not one and the same. Thomas Pieters, when he came on tour in 2017 that I remember, Thomas Pieters shaped the golf ball all directions. He'd won a national championship from the University of Illinois on Riviera Country Club. So it's like, I really like this guy. I made the comparison because I feel like they're kind of both bombers, Marco Penge. And from what I've seen from Marco Penge is he's a great ball striker. So it's like there might be a bit of a comparison between him and Thomas Pieters I can make. They're both European, not from the same country, but hell, they might actually kind of work, you know, closely related. I kind of want to go back to Marco Penge just because I have a feeling. It's a gut feeling. My Thomas Pieters comparison doesn't really work for me. Honestly, if I'm being honest with you, I'm going to go back and kind of take that back a little bit. I don't think that comparison really works out that well. But I just have a gut feeling that this is the week, this is the tournament that we're going to actually see a pretty decent Marco Penge. So I would start here. And I mean, if I just run optimizer, I know that, whoa. Actually, I need to change this up. This needs to go to 0. This needs to go to 0. And this needs to go to 1. But yeah, Scheffler's the guy, right? Scheffler's going to always be the guy when you target 2 6Ks. Never mind. Look at this. McIlroy and Fleetwood. That's crazy. She might be a good lineup with Gerard. I don't really care for Gerard. I mean, I'm going to play each one of those guys. Look at that. I'm being disproven right away. Okay, so anyways, I like him. I also like Hoagie. I'll go back to Hoagie. I'll actually go back to Echeverria and Novak. But now, like I said, I'm kind of getting stuck down in the 6K range. So if I wanted to move past that, do I like anybody? By the way, I'm still sticking with my Berger take from last week. I never like to play him more than 2 weeks. I don't want to play him 2 weeks in a row or more. So I won't want to play Berger this week. There's something about him coming back from his injury from last year. He does not play back-to-back weeks very well. This is 3 weeks in a row. So I don't really feel I don't like it at all. I don't mind Hisatsune. I'm not going to go there. Connors, I don't know. I don't really care for Connors. I think he plays this course well, but that's just a memory. I'd have to dig into the stats. Don't like Wyndham Clark. Don't really care for Alex Noren. I'll go back to Poston. Don't really care for Homa. Don't really care for Pendrith. Don't really care for Gerard, Kitayama, Coot. Well, I do like Cootie. Cootie is great. So this 7K range, yeah. If I'm building up, I'm not building up with 7K golfers. Like I'm building up with 6K golfers. And I think that just leads me to Scotty Scheffler lineups. Obviously, the optimizer proved me wrong. It's like, no, we like Fleetwood. We like Rory. We're doing those guys first. Anyways. So, yeah. Yeah, Logan, I liked, if Finau would have been less than $7,400, I still would have probably played him. But the fact that he's $6,800 just makes it all the juicier. Okay, let's see. Let me come back down from there. You had asked, what are your thoughts on building up? Okay, I just answered that. Wheels Up says, I like profit. Never chase. Only top 10 DFS lineups. I want a consistent process, even if it's just steady minimum cashes. Profit is profit. You said you hate watching TV. Oh, I just hate watching TV. I don't watch TV shows. I don't watch sitcoms. I don't watch any of that stuff. I'll watch sports. So yeah, TV and sports go hand in hand, but I don't watch the regular TV channels. You know what I'm saying? First time seeing you. You are interactive and have said a couple things I agreed with, so I stuck around. There we go. Yes, I mean first pick of your cheapest guy and then you work your way up. Okay. All right. Yeah, I did that exercise. All right. We're getting into the bucket system. This is where we narrow down. We find golfers that we're going to want to anchor basically around. It's going to be a deep dive into what we've seen in previous years and kind of apply it to this year. So this might be a little bit long. Maybe I can keep it under 30 minutes. Probably not. So we'll try. Here we go. Okay, so this is the website, SweetSpotDFS.com. This is under the bucket system. Now, the bucket system gives us, right away in the top here, a great summary of what each bucket has done in the past at the Genesis Invitational. Each of these buckets, you can see it's the stat. So last year, the ID, and the range. So last year bucket ones are golfers who finished last year inside the top 20. You can actually, you can look at the bucket system two ways. Here on the website, or if you go to the cheat sheet, you will also have a bucket system here. And much like I went over with the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am, this is where you're going to have projections. I will add projections here at some point. It just, I got to do the calculations and stuff. And it's in a work in progress. It just isn't here yet. Not here yet. So if you want to look, yeah, again, go to the cheat sheet. Again, the cheat sheet is found under Fantasy Tools cheat sheet. Go there, and then you can scroll down and find that cheat sheet right here. Just click here. Cheat sheet right under here. Click the click here button. And then you can follow along that way. But I'm going to use this one first. And basically what I'm going to get at, well, I'm not going to go stat by stat, but I'm going to sort by the minimum. And basically what this is going to tell us is each of the buckets that we see at least one or more means it's happened every single year. Recent form twos. These are golfers that have decent recent form. Not super great, but decent recent form. That's that 20 to 40 average finishing position. So one way you can do this is, but two ways, I guess. Use the website. So I can click into recent form twos. Well, actually, I won't even do that yet, but recent form twos. We can go to that cheat sheet on the website. Click the bucket icon. Pretty slick, right? Go down to recent form twos. So we click that, and now we'll see all the golfers that are in this bucket this week at the Genesis Invitational. There's 21 golfers. And your top price guy is Patrick Cantlay. Cam Young, so we got 3 9K golfers. And also, if you want to see what, this is the other cool thing, we can just drill down into the salaries, and you guys can kind of see it on the screen. There's a bit of a smoke screen that's happening, but if you look way up top, there are 3 9K golfers. If I go into the 8Ks here, there are 4 8K golfers. If I click in the 4, that's 7Ks. There are 8 7Ks, and for 6Ks, there's 6 6Ks. So that's a cool way that you can use this tool just to look to see how many golfers are being represented in each of the salary buckets. But if you just looking at the golfers, basically what I would tell you guys is if there are some golfers here that you like, that you already have convictions on, looking at one of these buckets, like the one that I just pulled up, the recent form 2 bucket, where we've seen at least 2 golfers every single year finish inside the top 10. And you go back to the cheat sheet, and you like 2 golfers here, by all means, play them. By all means, play them. I like a lot of golfers here. If I start in the 6K range and I build up, Ryan Fox, sure, got no issue with that. There's Ryo Hisatsune, guys. Ryo Hisatsune. He's in this recent form bucket. Despite having a bunch of top 10 finishes, he also has a missed cut in a 44th position, and that's what gets him that average finishing position of 29.80. I will say, having no course history, not super great. This is where, like, the combo buckets, dude, I wish I could have got the combo buckets up and running before this tournament, because I used the combo buckets 2 years ago to get on Hideki Matsuyama when nobody else was, and that's how I won my $1,800. No roll calls tonight, Logan. No roll calls. Sorry, bud. Walker Bueller's Day Off. Thank you. And AJ, by the way, thank you. Please subscribe to the channel. I love that. Yeah, if you like 2 of these golfers, you should feel absolutely confident that this bucket, first of all, there's 21 golfers. You're choosing 2 out of 21. Your chances are pretty good, honestly, of who's going to finish inside the top 10. It's just who's going to be the guy. Who's going to be the guy? I feel like Jason Day is probably going to be one of those guys, which is going to be really difficult. The optimizer loves Ben Griffin so far. Loves Ben Griffin. So maybe it's a Ben Griffin week, and I actually don't hate him at this golf course. Seems like it'd be a pretty good Ben Griffin golf course. So it's up to you guys. Up to you. I usually like the optimizer to do its thing. And if it picks any of these golfers once or twice, that's fine. Now, the one other thing to mention. So yeah, this bucket system says hey, we've seen at least 2 every single year. But this doesn't really account for how quality this year's recent form 2 golfers are. So I'm going to drill into this recent form 2. And again, the whole website's pretty interactive. So you can drill on just about anything and things are going to happen. Just remember I drilled into it. I actually want to go back. I'm not going to use the cheat sheet. I'm going to use my sheet. And I'm going to go to my bucket system, which is the same as the one that's on the cheat sheet. It's just this is obviously zoomed in. It's easier for me to use. And that way I don't have to mess around with the ones that you have. But if I drill into the bucket system and I put filters on this, let me clear the ones that are already on there. There we go. And we take a look at recent form 2s. So we scroll down to here and we're looking at this bucket right there, the one that's highlighted right on the top. Again, you're going to see the same numbers that you see on the website, 2 to 8, but you won't see the projection. We have a projection of 1 to 4. 1 to 4. It's almost 2 to 4. And if we look at kind of the conservative projection over here, most of you guys remember me talking about conservative projections, 2.87. That's the max. So it's 3. So how I read this is we want somewhere between 1 to 3 golfers. We could go up to 4 golfers from this bucket, but it definitely seems like we want at least 1. And when I guess, let me take that back because there's the Scottie Scheffler rule that we have to apply. Are there golfers in this bucket that we can't pair up with Scottie? And then if we can't pair up with Scottie, how many golfers need to get removed from the bucket? And then at that point in time, is it really that important? Let's actually do that. Actually, I know how to do this in a certain way. So I'm going to go back to here. I'm pretty sure we can't really do a 9K. I mean, it is possible. Technically, it is possible, but I don't know the quality of lineups we could build. So I'm going to say right away, we get rid of 3 9K golfers. Probably can't do Sam Burns, but maybe we can because the optimizer obviously built a Scottie Scheffler lineup with Ben Griffin right away. Like when we told it to build a Scottie Scheffler lineup, it just went with Ben Griffin. So I'm going to say, let's just do 5. Let's be harsh. Let's be a bit critical here and let's get rid of 5 and just say Matt Fitzpatrick at 8,400 and below is the most expensive golfer from this bucket we can put in a Scottie Scheffler lineup and still make a quality lineup. So I'm going to remove 5 golfers from this projection. And what I'm going to do is actually just remove it from here and the projections should change. So this is at 20, it's at 21. We're going to make it 16. It does change. It doesn't change drastically, but that 4 number, if you can see, what ended up happening is it went from 1.96 to 3.27. And then, okay, let me word that differently. The minimum projection is 1.96. The max is 3.27. It then moves down to 1.78 for the min and 2.97 for the max. So this is just kind of solidifying that we really don't want 4 golfers at all. We definitely don't want 4 golfers if we're making a Scottie Scheffler lineup, but still at the same time, we didn't see Rory McIlroy in there. We didn't see Tommy Fleetwood in that bucket. There are still more expensive golfers that aren't in that bucket that could finish inside the top 10, and you still couldn't pair up with those 9K golfers. So now this projection that I say 1 to 4 is kind of really 1 to 3. Personally, on the optimizer, I'm going to leave it 1 to 4. So you guys, just so you guys know. And you know, I did talk about the Scottie Scheffler rule, where if Scottie's not in that bucket, we automatically push down the projections. I'm not positive we need to do it for this bucket because there's not a 10K golfer in there. And technically you could pair up Scottie with these 9K golfers. So I'm going to leave it pretty open. Like I kind of do want to push them down because I'm not really seeing a ton of golfers in here that I absolutely have to play or really need to play or want. Like there isn't anybody in here that I say you need to anchor your lineups around. I do like Cantlay. Cantlay plays this golf course really well almost all the time. So I'm kind of digging that. I could play one of these 7K golfers. So that 1 to me is fine. Having a 1 as the minimum projection, because all these golfers are very affordable. Harris English, I really like Harris English this week. I talked about it with Byron last night. I like him. There's Sepp Straka. I don't mind going back to Sepp Straka. Jason Day, same thing. JT Poston, I had mentioned him in that stream. I really like JT Poston, so I got no issue going there. And then again, Satsune is down here. People who have 0 course history don't really tend to do well at the Genesis Invitational, so I don't know how that bears out for him, but I'm going to limit my exposure to him. All right, moving on. Oh, by the way, I did drill into this. So now what you could do on the bucket system on the website, which you can't do on the spreadsheets, you can drill into this bucket and scroll down on the report. And now we can see these results with the lead-in bucket stats. Now you can look at every golfer who was ever in this bucket, and we can filter out by just top 10 placements. And we can go year by year, by the way. So in 2025, here were all the golfers that were in that recent form 2 bucket. And again, if you want to take a look, recent form 2 is here. We can actually put in the bucket IDs, and you can see that that's the recent form 2. If we go back to raw stats, remember it's between 20 and 40th place, the average finishing position, and that's what you have for recent form. So you can look at this however you want. But we had Ludwig in there. This is also at Torrey, just so you guys know. This isn't Genesis, but still, it's worth looking at. Ludwig, McNeely, Fleetwood, McCarthy, Batia, Taylor. Nick Taylor might be the only odd. Well, him and McCarthy, 68 and 66. It's 3 golfers right here, $66 to $7,100. But everyone, well, and McNeely, I guess 78. Okay, so it's kind of a mix. No 8K golfers in there. If you wanted to look at everybody that was in that bucket for last year, you can also sort by salary from top to bottom, and you can actually look to see who the 8K golfers were. So there were 8K golfers in there: Jason Day, Jordan Spieth, Sam Burns, Bobby Mack, Thomas Dietrich. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. None of them finished inside the top 10. It's not to say that salary matters when it comes to picking golfers, at least their performances. But 8K range, not super, not a great combo to go with this recent form 2 bucket. Now, we can go to 2024, which would have been the Genesis, and again, apply that finishing position filter of just looking at top 10s. We get Hideki Matsuyama, Cantlay, Harris English, Hoagie, Day. Okay, so you get Jason Day that time. Eric Cole, JT Poston, and Tommy Fleetwood. I don't know how you guys want to look at this. If these golfers' recent form in 2024 matches their recent form from this year, that tells me they're already in a comfort zone coming to this event that they've played well at before. Right? Doesn't that make sense? Patrick Cantlay was coming in with a 32.75 recent form. Recent form, for people who are new to the channel, I look back the last 2 months, which is, I go 7 weeks back from this. Well, that's not really 2 months all the time, but I go 7 weeks back from this week. So I'm counting this week plus the 7 weeks before. Obviously, this week there's no play. It's just how I do it. I'm only looking back at the last 7 weeks. So if I go to the cheat sheet, Patrick Cantlay is coming with a 37.33 recent form. Recent form. 14th place finish last week, a missed cut, and a 13th place finish. Who else did we see? JT Poston coming in with a 36.67. Did we see Tom Hoagie on here? No. Jason Day, 21.33. If I go back to the bucket system, Jason Day, 33.7. So not the same, but he and JT Poston, you could say, were flipped. Because Jason Day is coming in with better recent form this year than he did in 2024. And JT Poston's coming in with worse recent form this week than he did in 2024. But they're still in this bucket together. And really, I don't care. If you guys don't care about this, that's all right. I'm still providing it. Harris English, $7,000. Was he in that bucket? I forget. Right here, 25.25. Harris English, 36.20. And you can also see what the last week finishing position was for these golfers. Poston had missed the cut heading into this event. Hoagie was a top 20. Harris English was a top 20. So there's Hoagie. That's cool to see. Cantley did not play the week before, which you don't get this week, unfortunately. So it's a bit different. It's a bit different on how to look at this stuff. But nonetheless, you can go ahead and do your deep dives this way. If I went through each 36 buckets, that would be its own 4-hour show. So I'm really not going to get into, I'm not really going to dive that deep into all of this. One thing I want to mention, someone remind me, what was I going to bring up with the buckets? I think it was when Walker Buehler came in here. He mentioned something. I said, we'll get to that with the buckets. I can't remember off the top of my head. If you guys can remind me, that'd be wonderful. What I'm going to end up doing here is I'm going to sort by the bucket range. This will get it back in order. I want to talk about course history because last year was played at Torrey Pines. It was not played at Genesis. The bucket system is going to it's going to include Torrey Pines. And here's why I don't have an issue with it. You're going to see a lot of the same leaderboard golfers from Torrey. Well, you'll see a lot of the same guys from the previous year. So 2014 and 2015 being the same. They're going to be inside the top 10. So I'm actually going to go to here and show you this. So Genesis Invitational, if I go to this page, no, I need to go to the year before. So the one in Torrey, so this is 2025. Should I do it on the website? I can't make up my mind right now. I'm going to zoom in real close. So this is 2025 Genesis Invitational. Ludwig Oberg won. Mav McNeely was up there. Scotty Scheffler was up there. So was Patrick Rogers. Tony Finau. So here's what I'm getting at. There's a last year column. Again, I keep track of their finishing positions from the year before. It's something that matters to me when it comes to the SweetSpot process. I look at this all the time. What you're going to find out, here's your top 10 right here. These golfers right there from Justin Thomas on up. 10th place finish from the 2024 Genesis Invitational, Tommy Fleetwood. 4th place finish, Patrick Cantlay. 19th place finish, Tony Finau. 10th place finish, Scotty Scheffler. 19th place finish, Ludwig Oberg. You can look at this different ways. Different ways. They're all quality golfers. So just being good golfers, maybe that's the only reason that they performed as well as they did at the Genesis, and there's no correlation between the two courses. I'm fine with that. I got no issue with that type of reasoning and thought process. Even in that case, we still play some of those best golfers, right? We look at their price tags, 82, 94, 91, 12-3, and 98. So our high price golfers that had good finishes from the year before. What you could do also, but you can't do on the website, you can't get rid of 2025, but you could research it down here differently. So if you wanted just to look at, and this is where I would say, actually, no, we don't need to look at that. Come down here, and I've got this by, okay, this is everybody inside the top 10. I was like, what am I looking at? You can come down here, look at every single year. We look at their bucket IDs from the year before. So this is 2024. So this is skipping Torrey Pines completely. And you can see all the bucket IDs that show up inside the top 10. We have Xander, who is a course history 1 bucket. You had Adam Svensson, who was also a course history 1 bucket, who had finished 10th. Now, if you want to see, you know, the raw stats, Adam Svensson had a 9th place average finishing position for his course history. Well, he finished 9th place the year before. That was probably his only time he had played. Which kind of makes me think about Rio Hasatsune. I said first timers don't really do well here. You can tell by that right here, course history. Eric Cole in 2024 had never played here and finished 10th. If I go to 2023, we saw that with Adam Svensson, never had played here before and finished 9th. But you can see all the different type of stat categories you want. You can look at their bucket combos, you know, through all of this. And that way you can kind of get a sense of what to anticipate, what to look for. So, course, I just wanted to brush up on course history. I think course history is fine to look at. If you want to look at it however you want to, whether it's through the bucket system or other websites or even, you know, on the pages that I have, go for it. Who cares? One of the tools that I have, strokes gained stats. This is the one that I kind of use when it comes to researching. Select the tournament. You could just put in the Genesis Invitational and just look at every year that the Genesis Invitational has been playing, and then you can sort by strokes gained total top to bottom and just see who's the best performers. If you want to remove last year, go in here, select all, and then deselect 2025. So all of the tools on SweetSpotDFS.com, you can go ahead and put filters. I include date filters. I include tournament filters, all this stuff. So you get to look at it however you want. By the way, Tony Finau, number one. Number one, Tony Finau. Most strokes gained total, followed by Fitzpatrick. Hovland, Homa, Cantlay, Clark, Xander Schauffele, Noren, Rogers, Spieth. Finau, man. Oh my God. The more I look at it, the more I know I'm going to, yeah, I love Finau this week. Which is scary to say because I couldn't care less for that guy all the way up until leading to this event. I didn't care for him last week. I didn't care for him at the American Express. I didn't care for him at the Farmers. I don't even remember where he played, but I just did not care. This week, feeling a little bit more confident about it. But he also, if you put in 2025, he's up there too. Or was he? He's second behind Oberg. Oberg is really the guy that falls, right? Yeah, Oberg falls quite a bit. You don't even see him up here on the top 10. So again, do with all of that as you will. Well, however you want to. Does not matter to me what you want to look at. I think course history, if you want to look at the last few years, go for it. Just to brush up on the buckets once again. Your best buckets maybe to look at, the ones that have shown the most success over the last couple of years, recent form 2s, 7K golfers, golfers who finished inside the top 20 last year, golfers who finished in that 20 to 40th place last year, golfers who did not play. That's an interesting one. I'm going to drill down into this one and take a look. Golfers who did not play. This is 2023, but let's go year by year because it's going to be easy to look at. You get Akshay and Mav McNeely. Now, Mav, okay, I'm going to put the raw stats in here. Mav McNeely had played this tournament before, but Akshay did not. Wow, okay. We're getting more and more into these Rio Hasatsune type of conversations. 2024, Eric Cole. 2023. Oh, by the way, Eric Cole did not have course history. He's not the only golfer. Let me open this up to everybody. Here's all of the golfers that represented that bucket from 2024. And you can see Eric Cole, Benny Ann Ludwig. Ludwig had 0 course history, finished 19th. Ben Griffin, Nikolai Højgaard. So it's like everybody in the 6K range except for Nikolai Højgaard, Ludwig Oberg, and then the 2 7K golfers. So 7K is pretty good, looking at 7Ks. That was 2024, remember? If I go to 2023, we have a few more golfers to look at. Holy crap, there's a lot. Oh, and this is because it wasn't a signature event. Still was an invitational, so there was still 120 golfers, but that's a lot of golfers who didn't play the year before. That's crazy. All of them had course history inside the top 10. Just these 4 golfers here, except for Svensson. Svensson did not. But yeah, again, you can go in here and take a look. But now we're getting into some bigger numbers because there's just more golfers. One golfer in 2022, Cam Young. Oh my God, guys. 0 course history. What the heck? 0 course history for Victor Hovland. $8,700. Okay, we have 1 year where, yeah, there was course history. Okay. I was going to say, man, is this a thing that we need to be looking at? Golfers with no course history? I'm going to go to the cheat sheet and take a look at the golfers that have 0 course history. So that's course history 6. Go to course history 6. Here are all the golfers that have 0 course history. Goddard, Hall, Cootie, Gerard, Bridgman has, yeah. I think one of the golfers from this bucket will finish inside the top 10. I'm not going to guarantee it, but it's like a 90% certainty. There's too many good golfers. Goddard's good. Cootie's good. Bridgman was fantastic last week. I mean, look at the stretch of top 20s that he has. He's got some of the best recent form coming into the event. A little bit of a heartbreak on hole 18, his 72nd hole, I should say. Then you got Hisatsune, who also is just scorching earth. The only golfers that might not be worthwhile are these guys down here. These are recent form 4s. Just throwing that out there. It's not super great. Oof. Like I said, I can spend hours talking about the bucket system. But really what I want to do is just give you guys the knowledge and information to use the website however you see fit. Course history 2, course history 3. So golfers who at least have course history and decent course history. Again, use the bucket combos however you see fit. This is the cheat sheet. This is my sheet, actually. And I guess if we go by projections, let's look at the projections. These are the anchor buckets that I used to do. So we're going to go greater than or equal to 1. And then I think I want to do, most of these are fine. Here are kind of all the anchor buckets, and you can do this on your side. Golfers who top 20 last year. That's kind of a no-brainer. These are going to be your best golfers. Scotty Scheffler's in this bucket, by the way. So this is a 2 to 4 bucket or a 2 to 5 bucket. I'm going to make that a 1 to 4 bucket because Scotty Scheffler's in it. You're either playing him or you're not. And I guarantee, I'm not going to guarantee, well, this is another like 90% certainty he's going to finish inside the top 10. Like it just, so he's going to represent that bucket one way or the other. Last year, 2s. Golfers in that 20 to 40 range. Again, if you find a golfer that's like a 10K golf, I guess let's take a look. Let's go through this kind of quick. I'm going to go through this part faster. I already forgot what I was looking at. Last year 2s. Last year 2s. $9,600 is the most expensive golfer, and then it's Siwoo. I mean, I like Henley this week. Henley's good on this golf course. But if you wanted to look at someone else, you certainly can. So, JT Poston's fine. Gosh. Maybe I don't. Oh, I like Harris English too. Lucas Glover, that was down here. Anyways, Shane Lowry. Yeah. Shane Lowry's good. I would actually bump that bucket down too. Now that I look at this, there's too many good golfers that are expensive. 1 to 3 is, yeah, I'd do 0 to 3, honestly. By the way, every optimal lineup has had golfers from the last year 1 and the last year 2 bucket in them. Just throwing that out there. Every year so far. Last week 2 is another bucket. Course history 2. Every year there's been a course history 2 golfer in that in the optimal lineup. So if I go and take a look at course history 2s, Scotty Scheffler's in that bucket. So too is Rory. So that seems pretty simple, pretty easy. Course history 3, recent form 1 and 2. Coming in with recent form seems to, I mean, the projections are high. Not so much what we've seen. Every single year we've seen at least 2 recent form 2 golfers inside the top 10. Who are those guys? Scotty Scheffler won't be in that bucket, but recent form 1s he will be. So recent form 2. 93, 91, 9. We already looked at this bucket. Never mind. We've already looked at this bucket. We've already determined what to do there. I think we dropped that down to a 1. It is a 1. Never mind. 1 to 4. But oh yeah, that's right. We talked about it to being like a 1 to 3. I have very bad short-term memory. So just throwing that out there. Recent form 3s. Actually, I want to look at recent form 1s. Recent form 1s have a lot of good golfers. Bridgman, the cheapest guy, Gerard, Cootie, all these. Geez, Gerard, even with the 45th place finish, his average throughout the last 7 weeks has been 15th. That's insane. 2 second place finishes. Wow. A lot of green. A lot of green. I think Siwoo's the only guy that I probably would stay away from out of this whole group. Which seems crazy to say, but I also wouldn't put Siwoo and Gerard together or Siwoo and Cootie together if you are putting a lineup with Siwoo in it. We were looking at recent form 3s. We do have some expensive golfers here. So that projection I'm going to push down to 1. Or I'm going to push down by 1. So this is a 1 to 3 bucket. That's going to be a 0 to 3 bucket for me. I'm going to make that a 0 to 3 bucket. I'm going to do that on the optimizer right now. Recent form. Oh, I did. Look at that. 0 to 3. Okay. I'm not going to talk about the other buckets, salaries and strokes gained buckets. Like I said, I mean, well, if I didn't say this before, I'll say it now. I've said this in previous videos. All of the conditionals are right here on the optimizer. I build lineups exclusively with the optimizer. I follow this rule, or I follow these rules. Again, I will bump down projections based off of Scotty Scheffler being in the, or just him being 14,000. We need a Scotty rule, and the Scotty rule is if he's in any of these, if he isn't in any of these buckets, they have to go down by 1. He is in the last week 1. He's in the last year 1. He's in all of the buckets, bucket 1s, except for course history 2. So just throwing that out there. Throwing that out there. All right. That's it. I will catch up with chat. If you guys got any questions as as I'm looking through chat, please leave them in. I'm not building lineups here towards the end. This is it. AJ said, please subscribe to the channel. Oh, by the way, if this video gets 25 likes, I will give out 5 YouTube memberships. So not only subscribe to the channel, but also like the video. I'm going to try to, I'm going to try Marco and Kim, said Wheels Up. That's Tom Kim. Walker Buehler's day off. Thoughts on this lineup? Rory, Decky, McNeely, Minwoo, and Hasatsune and Fox. It sounds great. Let's throw it in the optimizer and see what it does. Rory, Decky, McNeely. And 9-8. Love that start so far. Minwoo, Hasatsune, and Fox. See what it looks like with the buckets. Okay. So we'll go bucket by bucket or stat category by stat category. You have 3 last year 1s. Perfect. 2 last year 6s. Perfect. We don't want more than 2, and you've got 2. That's fine. You've got each of your golfers in these buckets, which is perfect. 4 last week 1s, 2 last week 2s. That fits right in those projections. Lovely. You have 3 course history 2s, 0 course history 3s. We can take a look. Why? So course history 3, 1 to 4. Right here. Yeah, that still remains 1 to 4. Course history 3s. Who is in this bucket? Henley, Burns, Griffin, Fowler, Fitzpatrick, McIntyre, Rose, English. Can we live without any of these golfers? Or I should say this, if one of them does finish inside the top 10, will it matter? If Henley finishes inside the top 10 and doesn't finish first, second, or third, then yeah, we don't really have to worry about that. But I don't see him really doing that frequently. Burns, maybe. Then there's Griffin, who you said is dead to you. Fowler, probably not. Fitzpatrick, maybe. Maybe Fitzpatrick. McIntyre, Rose. Yeah, we could probably deal without one of these guys. Let's see. You had Minwoo at $7,600. You could pivot from Minwoo to how much did you spend? I forget. $49,800. So you got $200 to work with. You could bump it up to Bradley or Day or Shane Lowry, and maybe that would be good. I mean, I'll review the rest of this, but yeah, that's the only one that you're missing. And again, you don't really have to follow it because you are in line with all these other ones, so that's fine. We can skip out, because if a golfer does finish inside the top 10 and say they finish 10th, 9th, or 8th, not that big of a deal. It's not going to hurt you, especially if it's Henley. You do have 3 recent form 1s and 2s. That's perfect. Strokes gained 1. You got 1 there. That's perfect. You're not over on any of the other ones. You're great with salaries, and we have no idea about these. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to kick out Minwoo, and I'm going to run this again, and it's going to, let's see what it does. Will it break? It does not break. It puts in Jason Day. So that's a choice, or that's a alternative, I should say. Let's try another one. Shane Lowry gets added to that one. So that's another one. So I'll click no there. Does it make another one for us? Keegan Bradley, of course. Okay, so there's 3 alternatives. I will put Minwoo back in, and maybe I kick out Hisatsune. See what it does. McIlroy, Matsuyama, McNeely, Minwoo, Alex Noren. Okay. I don't know if you're a big Noren fan, but you could go from Hisatsune up to Noren. Or Harmon, which I don't really care for. Harmon's fine. Or Wyndham Clark, which I'm not a fan of. So, not super great lineups. I'm going to kick out... the last one I'm going to do here is I'm going to kick out Ryan Fox. You said you're going to bet JJ Spawn. McIlroy, Matsuyama, McNeely, Minwoo, Hisatsune, and Harmon. Okay, Harmon's getting the boot now. Aaron Rye could be a replacement. Denny McCarthy could be a replacement. That's not bad. That's for Ryan Fox, by the way. So, let's see. Ryan Fox. You said you want JJ? Where was JJ? 75. I'm going to put JJ Spawn in here. Does he fit that course history? No, he does not. Bad course history. So I'm actually going to remove both these guys down here and just see what the optimizer does. Nick Taylor, Bud Cauley. There's Rio with Harmon, so you get your Rio guy in there again. Rio Rye. Rio U. Rio Denny McCarthy. So Denny McCarthy would be my choice. But if you wanted to switch Minwoo to JJ Spawn with that lineup you had, it fits the whole sweet spot process, minus the marquee tee times, which I don't have. So I built lineups for him because he's a new guy. Okay? Okay, everyone? Let's see here. Okay, so are we getting a roll call tonight? Logan, I answered that one. I said no. I just subbed and liked. Thank you, Walker Bueller's Day Off. That's awesome. I'm playing this, Eric. If it hits, I'll give you a tip. Marco Penge, Tom Kim, Morikawa, Berger, Scheffler, and Finau. Ooh, I'm going to throw that in. I want to see what that looks like. You are putting Berger in, which that's scary. Marco Penge. So let's put that in. Penge and Finau. Finau. You have a good night as well, Walker Bueller's Day Off. Finau, Penge, Scheffler, Morikawa, Berger. Okay, so I need Berger in there as well. Scheffler, I need Morikawa. Wow. And what else? Tom. Oh my God. Well, I don't know about this lineup. I 4-6Ks. That's, I would actually bet money that that's never going to happen in this event. But you follow the buckets here. You don't hear. You don't hear either. You do hear. You do hear as well. This is fine, except for the 4-6Ks. I mean, hey man, you do you. I'll take a tip. It's not, I wouldn't advise to do that. It links our favorites. I see. Okay. Ben Griffin is dead to me. I just put in the grossest lineup. Cantlay, Young, Fitzpatrick, Oberg, Spawn, Homa. Henley, Cantlay, Burns, Day, Cootie, Finau. I just built Juicy. That is a pretty juicy lineup. Why am I talking myself into JJ Spawn? He did go -9 Saturday, Sunday, and he fits the narrative Morikawa did going into Pebble, where there's no way you could touch him. That is the one narrative that does match. But I think JJ Spawn's a loser. US Open. He's a loser. I think McCarthy, Harmon will be good plays for cheap and Hoagie all veterans. Oh, yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. I'm going to take off. It is midnight my time. It is a perfect time to log off, get some sleep. I'll probably put timestamps in. I'll put timestamps in tonight. So I'll do that. But yeah, that's it. Reach out to me right there if you need any questions answered. SweetSpotDFS@gmail.com. And I'm going to take off. So thank you all for watching. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff on your way out. And I will see you next week.